So it first started when I was 14, found a job at Surf Shop, Bare Nature in Fremantle. I think I was on $5 an hour and $5 contra, which is not a lot. But then after that, I managed to find myself at Underground Surf, working for Kev and some awesome crew there, which I'm still in contact with them. So yeah, started there, and then I quit uni to become a full-time buyer there, much to my parents' dismay. I think I had to pay Dad back my uni fees. After that, yeah, so I was doing the buying for Underground Surf, and it exposed me obviously to the sales reps and buying from different brands, in particular Mambo. John Blake was doing Mambo Electric at the time. So I harassed him, I think, for a couple of months to be his first employee. And that was awesome. So he literally gave me the ground to start my career and taught me how to sell, how to cold call, and some really good basic sales skills back then. So yeah, started with John Blake. And then after that, I got the phone call from Jules Corbett to go to Rusty, and I just jumped at the chance because I just loved the brand. So I was there for, I think I was there for a couple of years, and then I moved to Sydney. I was a rep for Rusty over there under Dean and Michaela Whiteman. Great times. After that, I then jumped across to Roxy, and I was in sales there for another couple of years and eventuated back to WA, back to Rusty. There was a lot of confusion at the time when I was, hello, this is Sophie from Rusty or Roxy. And then that set me up, that's when I started to get into product. So I was in product management and WA sales, and I fell in love with the product side of it. After that, I got the phone call to move to Melbourne to be working for Roxy. So I've been between the two brands 7 years, and then I worked myself up to be the head of product for APAC for Roxy. Went through the whole globalization there, and then left there and started my own brand, which was like a brand new uni degree. And then after Neon Tide, I was unfortunate enough, a job came up at Rip Curl, and I remember going in and meeting with Nicole, and I was like, walked out, rang Trip, and I was like, I have to work for these guys. I just love the energy and the focus that they have on their product. And after that, went to Hong Kong and did my stint, and then ended up back at Rip Curl, and I'm now global product manager and love my job. I look back at the Rusty days and just go, what an amazing time that I got to experience. I don't think the surf industry will ever be like that. All the sales releases were pretty crazy, and look, everyone that was stocking Rusty at the time made a lot of money. The product was really born out of trends and creativity, and the owners also too were so immersed in their brand and their culture, and it just really was an amazing time. That job definitely allowed me to find out what I was good at, and also too, it just really kind of moulded who I was as a person and embraced who I was as a person. Obviously, you know, I'm pretty passionate and pretty creative in certain elements, and I feel like that really harnessed what I was good at, and that's why I think I enjoyed what I did so much, because it didn't actually feel like a job. Oh look, the Rusty parties, to be honest, I just remember it's just a blur of dress-ups, drinking, music. Music was a big part of the Rusty culture. We had videos done at my house, we've had boat parties, we've had beach parties, we've had warehouse parties, and at that stage too, we were doing surf industry parties too. So the WA surf industry was alive and kicking, and I feel like the Rusty parties definitely, you know, gave the surf industry this kind of anti-establishment culture at that stage, and made the brand, you know, what it was, like pretty cool, on the pulse, and a lot of fun. Rusty back in the 90s, early 2000s was the time. I remember my first day at Rusty, they were like, hey, you're doing a photo shoot. And I was like, cool, no worries, let's do a photo shoot. So I ended up doing, you know, their red Rusty denim campaign, and I remember having to put myself in the window at Star Surf Shop. And I was going, wow, this is a pretty surreal moment for me doing this as a sales rep. And yeah, photo shoots that ended up on the front page of the Daily Telegraph with plastic guns. You know, Mogga was always at the point of any publicity is a good publicity, doesn't matter what it is. So yeah, there was a lot of stories. And I think also too, Rusty did teach me to work hard, play hard at that stage. There was never a day off if you were hungover. You literally rolled up the next day and fronted up. I do remember at one stage, I think there was a place in the warehouse where everyone went to go and have a sleep amongst the picking slips. I do remember a dog coming to work and falling through the roof. I remember that pretty clearly. There was always a story at Rusty. There was, yeah, it was totally creative and crazy, and you know, but we all worked really hard to build that brand. Look, my transition from sales into product, I think, was an inevitable one for me. Product is really embedded in who I am. I think growing up, I was always after the latest surf trend. I was obsessed with surf brands. And yeah, it was a general progression for what I, you know, was innate to me, if such. Sonia Raffici, who I worked with at Rusty, was definitely one person who mentored me and pretty much cultivated my love of product. So I can blame her too for my shopping addiction. Yeah, I think having an understanding of product is really tying back to understanding the consumer. And I think it was super easy for me to do that because I was the consumer over from 14 to now. So it was super easy for me to make that transition from sales to product. Probably one of my biggest challenges in my career was being at Roxy and the whole globalisation process. Andy Mooney came on board in 2012 and rolled out the whole globalisation Centre of Excellences. So I had a design team based in Torquay who were kicking some serious goals at that stage, and knowing that that team was going to be dissembled over 6 months, and knowing that and having that weight on my shoulder and the confidentiality behind it was extremely tough. It was also really hard for me because I just couldn't understand the decision. Look, I understood the decision, but knowing the talent that I had and that was about to go was really hard to deal with. Also at that stage, the amount of travel I was doing just was exponential. I think at one stage I did 14 international trips in 21 days, and it was really affecting my health. So during that stage, it was very challenging. I didn't have too many mentors at that stage too, just because I couldn't really talk to anyone about what was happening. But that challenge and going through that has allowed me to go through another globalisation and just have so much more knowledge about it. I was the only female on the executive team at that stage. And look, to be honest, throughout my career, obviously it is a boys' club just by default in the surf industry, but not once did I ever feel that I was excluded from that. I was always a part of it. The guys never treated me any differently. Although I do remember Pin saying to me one day, look, I'm not going to treat you differently to anyone else, which I really respect. And now there is definitely more females within the industry and on the executive team. I know Rip Curl we do, which is fantastic. But yeah, I learnt so much. I definitely became thicker skinned, and yeah, I think I've always been a part of the boys' club. There's definitely moments of just the enormity of the globalisation project that was going on. And I think by that stage, I was just physically done. and I had lost a lot of belief and passion for the brand by then. And then that pretty much started for me the process of going, okay, really looking at my career and going, do I want to be here if I don't have that passion anymore? So also my health was suffering, and I remember I went to a naturopath and she took one look at me and goes, your job's making you very sick. So I literally rang up Greg that day and resigned, and that was my end at Roxy. So the seed from Neon Tide was, I'd left Roxy and I had lost all passion, and it was definitely a bucket list for me. I knew that I couldn't get to 80 and go, oh, I didn't try that, or I didn't do my own brand. And I saw an amazing opportunity to start a swimwear brand. And in the first year, it was crazy. Like, we learnt so much. I remember being told that we weren't going to get capital for the business, and I did a bank proposal, and I went in and I got $250,000 unsecured. So that to me was definitely a surprising moment, because I had a few people not believe in me that I could do it, but we actually managed to do that. So that was our first production run. And then just the general learnings of having your own business. Like, I thought you could have the flexibility. Well, that's kind of bullshit, because you are on 24/7. You can't switch off. You're a CEO, CFO, shipping, packing, sales. You are doing everything constantly. And I found that being a workaholic, I actually couldn't switch off having my own brand. And it came to a time where I just had ACE, and financially, Trip was like, hey, we're going to have to sell the house, or, to reinvest. And I made the decision for my family that I had to tap out, and that's when I started looking for a job, and the Rip Curl job came up. So definitely a sliding doors moment. I think the biggest thing as being a working mum is realising that you are going to miss out on things. Like, I am not the average mum at school. I don't pick my kids up. I never do canteen. I've only this year seen Duke run in a sports carnival, which was pretty rad. So I have missed out on a lot. But on the flip side of it, my boys have travelled the world. They get to go to a good school. They've got a roof over their head, all those things. But I think the work ethic that I'm instilling in my kids, and hopefully they'll do the same, is worth it. I have second guessed myself and had mother's guilt more than you could ever imagine. Getting on a plane and being away from your kids for 3 weeks can be really tough. I have a lot of my team that have to go away from their kids. I go, right girls, change your mindsets, be in the moment, turn it into a positive. You can watch a movie on the plane. You don't have to think about lunch. And it's all about, changing your mindset. So as soon as I stopped feeling guilty about things that I was missing out on and flipped it and thought about all the positives, the mother guilt stopped. And I'm so far beyond that now. It's when you're a mum and you start going, oh, I should be with my kids, or, I should be at work. And you start trying to quantify it all. It just gets too much. I think if you truly believe deep down that you're going to be a better mum and a better person, it's okay. You're not going to get judged. And I think that that's the hard thing. We are so quick to criticise either way. If you want to stay home with your kid and that's what your passion is, you do it. Don't feel guilty about not going to work. But if you want to work, and that's how I felt, I'm a better person and I'm a better mum if I'm working, then you have to do that. That's what's best for you. And when you start listening to judgments and other people that cloud that, I think that's when you get into a bit of a state of, I don't know what to do. But you just got to listen to what you feel's right for you and your family. Tripper had a great opportunity for his career to move to Hong Kong. And at that stage, I was working at Rip Curl and absolutely loving my job. So when all this happened, I knew that I had to do what I had to do, and that's to support my husband in his career. He also supported me during my Neon Tide days, which I felt at that stage moving to Hong Kong for his career was the right thing to do. So I resigned and obviously followed him with with the boys. And I still remember the day I walked into an apartment and I looked around and I was like, how am I going to do this for 3 years? Like, it just, I will never forget that moment. Culturally, living in Hong Kong was probably the hardest thing for myself to deal with. It's an expensive city. It's as far away from surf as possible. Different mindsets. And also too, I had a job that probably didn't have enough creativity for me personally. So I did it. We were there for 18 months. I got to the first year and I just wasn't happy, even though I was trying really hard to put a brave face on, rock up to work. You know, watching him succeed was amazing. And there was positives out of the whole opportunity. Duke can speak Chinese. Tripper really excelled in his career, but I was just struggling. So he was the one that actually said, hey, how about you reach out to Nickel and Rip Curl and see if they'd be open for you commuting, or taking a role there and you commuting. It was such a sliding doors moment because I wasn't going to do it. And Tripper's like, just ring him. So I rang him and he was like, I'm just about to offer someone else this role. Give me 24 hours. So 24 hours passed and he texted me and he's like, I think we can take this further. And a couple of days later, they took the opportunity and they had the faith to in me to obviously commute. So I did 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off for 9 months, and it was crazy, but I was so happy to have my foot back in Australia and back in the surf industry, which is who I am. Commuting from Hong Kong to Australia sounds a bit crazy, but I had it down pat. I would leave, I'd catch a bus from our place on the island at 4 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, try and snabble along a spare seat, and I would take a sleeping tablet, put my eye mask on, and 9 hours later, wake up in Melbourne, jump in my car, drive into Rip Curl and be at work at 9 a.m. on a Monday morning. So at that stage, for me, living and working in Hong Kong was perfect because I had to do so much travel anyway, being in the product manager's role. So being based in Hong Kong allowed me to go to China really easily. So I'd be doing China trips anyway, being based in Australia 3 or 4 times a year. So that time allowed me to really concentrate on that side of being a product manager. And it also allowed me to remove myself from the office and concentrate on things. This is when we were kind of shifting into more of a retail model. And I re-looked at the whole briefing process, and I could lock myself away in a room for a week and do probably the most amazing brief I've ever done. And that kind of set us up for some really strong positive results. So I feel like that 9 months was crucial for me and at Rip Curl. Well, 2019 has been an amazing year, probably my best year I've ever had. I turned 40. And also too, our team at Rip Curl is just humming. We have an amazing girls team. And this year we won SBIA Swimwear Brand of the Year, and we also won Brand of the Year, which is amazing. And also too, I got the Coaches Award, which is the CEO award at Rip Curl. That moment was amazing. I still remember it vividly, getting up out of my seat and looking around going, whoa, this is crazy. But our team had worked so hard for that award. So for me, it was just basically receiving it on behalf of the team, which was rad. I actually invited everyone up on stage to ring the bell. I think we bring the success down for Rip Curl particularly is just knowing our consumer and our customers. That's probably for us the main thing, you know, being aware of what's going on. Like, I spend so much time down the beach. I'm always looking at what people are wearing, feedback from our staff members, and just being able to action that. And also too, we've got an amazing global team. So we've got a killer, my boss, Mary, who is based in America, We've got a rad team in Europe, and you know, we're putting ranges together as a team, and I feel like there's so much experience and knowledge that we all bring to the table, and we do it together, and I think that that's why Rip Curl Women's is so successful at the moment. So yes, I am up to 26 years, which just is crazy for me. It doesn't seem that long. I try and keep inspired all the time. I have a really young team. They keep me inspired and keep me on my toes. I get inspiration everywhere I go. Could be at a restaurant, could be down the beach. I'm always on, or I've always, you know, I just think about product probably when I sleep as well, which, you know, my team always laugh. Oh, Sophie, you're probably thinking about that tonight. And I'm like, yep, I was thinking about that. So yeah, I try and stay inspired as much as I can just through all avenues. My kids, Duke inspires me. I love to see what he's loving, what he's not liking. Yeah, so I draw inspiration from all avenues. I think the whole growth in women's wear in the surf industry over the past 20 years is so inspiring. I love nothing more than mentoring and seeing the designers grow professionally and keep delivering amazing ranges. I think that for me inspires me. I love when, you know, I can come to them and go, hey, this is the results that you guys are delivering. Like, you know, it's kind of like being Santa, really. But, you know, the whole industry with the women's wear business, I think it's just really important that we just keep together, keep it strong, and just keep delivering really good product, because that's what makes the industry. Having great brands, you know, Roxy, Billabong, Rip Curl, if we all are succeeding, then it's really important for the industry that we're all, you know, doing really well. A normal week for Sophie Marshall could be from one week to completely something different on another week. It all depends on obviously our product life cycle. So an average week in the office for me would start with retail meetings, retail results, product sign-offs, design sign-offs, purchasing, pretty much everything that goes into making product I'm across. Lots of Skype calls to the US. So that's a lot of meetings, I would say, as a normal week at work. When I'm on the road, it could be PM meetings. I might be traveling to our France office, or going to America for design camp, where we lock ourselves away for a week, 12 girls, and, you know, pump out 200 styles. So it really does vary depending on the time of the year. I've just come back actually for a week on the road doing staff training with all our retail stores. So it's so vast, and I think that's why I love my job so much, because it could be in the office one week to getting on a plane and seeing a different market, to, you know, getting to our grassroots and, you know, touch points to our staff that are actually the foremost front of our brand. The future for me in the industry, it's funny because I've never actually thought about that until now. I love my job so much that I just am completely in a bubble of what I'm doing and making sure I'm trying to do it the best I can. So the future for me, bring it on. I don't know. The future of the surf industry, I think it's going to get stronger. One of the reasons why I think it's going to get stronger is that I feel that our customers and consumers are becoming more involved in nature and obviously the beach, and I think that it's something that's free and it's something great for families, and because obviously 80% of Australia live near the beach, that I think the surf industry is only going to get stronger if we stay strong and true to our roots as brands. I feel like the industry has got a really bright future, and you just have to see how many groms are surfing at the moment. It's just amazing. So I feel like, yeah, I'm really excited to see what the future brings. Advice that I have for anyone in the surf industry is definitely work hard, understand your strengths and weaknesses, and go above and beyond what your normal job role would be. I feel like that's really important if you want to progress. Your managers, will notice this, and this is when you'll get the tap on the shoulder. So I feel like that's definitely key in making sure that you are going to progress in your career. Go the extra mile, do the extra things, and you'll definitely get noticed.